This video is sponsored by Ratchet Clothing. The holidays are fastly approaching. Check out Ratchet's new Stranger Things collection. All the kids love it, including my younger daughter. Their link is in the description below. Today we're going to be talking about the reasoning behind why Big John was given a captain's position. As I previously mentioned, John Castellucci, who we call Big John, was fortunate enough to be in the same prison as the former Lucchese consigliere, Joe DiNapoli. And not that being in prison is something to be viewed as fortunate, but in Big John's case, it was. And two events unfolded for Big John as a result of that. The first being he was able to get himself inducted into the family, and secondly, Joe DiNapoli put him in a captain's position. So just to give a little recap, Joe DiNapoli and Big John were in the same prison. One day, Joe DiNapoli was not feeling very good, and Big John suggested that he go to the infirmary, but Joe refused. He said he was okay and he didn't want to go. But after a few minutes, he looked worse, and John finally convinced him to go, and he helped him to the infirmary. And Joe suffered a heart attack as soon as they walked in the door. Luckily, they were able to work on him right away, and this basically saved his life. So Joe felt that if it wasn't for Big John, he'd probably be dead, and John saved his life. And he never forgot that. As a reward for that deed, when Big John got out, Joe DiNapoli got him inducted into the Lucchese family. Now, prior to him being inducted, he was an associate to the Brooklyn faction. And Joey DiBenedetto, who was part of that faction, told me that when Big John was an associate, verbatim, we used to abuse him. So Big John was getting abused as an associate. Eventually, there came a point where a captain's position for the Brooklyn faction became vacant. Joe DiNapoli, who at the time was a consigliere, advocated for Big John to get this position. And we'll get to the reason why in a moment. I mentioned in another video where there are brothers who are part of different families, and Joe DiNapoli and his brothers are an example of that. As we know, Joe was part of the Lucchese family, but he had two brothers named Vincent and Louis who were members of the Genovese family. Speaking of brothers, right after Big John got word that he was going to get this position, his brother Bubsy had a meeting with Joe DiNapoli and Stevie Crea. Stevie Crea was the underboss at the time. What that meeting was about, I have no idea. But what we did learn was, after the meeting, Bubsy made a pitch to get the captain's position that was going to be given to John. Ultimately, his request was denied, but the selfishness and backstabbing he showed, especially against his brother, was not lost on the administration. Joe DiNapoli not only told the story, but commented to someone something to the effect of, "Imagine this guy trying to backstab his own brother." It was a bad move on his part and definitely showed his character. So Big John officially got the position, and now he was the boss of the Brooklyn faction. Politically, within the family, he used his connection with Joe DiNapoli to his leverage. Let's not forget, not only was Joe DiNapoli part of the administration, his position as consigliere gave John an upper hand. As consigliere, Joe made decisions on external beefs or issues outside the family, but mostly internal ones within the family. So if another captain had a beef with Big John, naturally Joe's going to rule in John's favor. And John fully used this to his advantage. Case in point, when I had issues with Big John, the way he was inappropriately treating me, if I had any grievances with my captain, I had to go to the consigliere. I knew I had to go through the chain of command, and that's going to Joe DiNapoli. But I knew that that would be a lost cause because Joe would not go against Big John for me. So back to the main question. I received a lot of messages asking me the same thing. Why was Big John given that position? On the surface, it seems simple. He saved Joe DiNapoli's life. Joe DiNapoli straightened him out and gave him the position. And by the way, I was told by plenty of people, no one was pushing for John to get inducted back then. If it wasn't for Joe DiNapoli, he may have never gotten inducted. But to find the true answer, we must go back and take a look at history. The Brooklyn faction, and specifically Vicamuso and Gaspipe, were notorious for eliminating anyone that they had a problem with. If they even suspected you had something on your mind, you were going. And as far as the Bronx faction back then, Vic and Gas had them walking on eggshells. And Joe DiNapoli remembers those days all too well. Joe's very well versed and he knows the life very well. He's been around a very long time and he knows the Brooklyn faction's history and most of all capabilities. But more than that, he knew that that faction always wanted to bring the power base of the family back to Brooklyn. During the time that Joe advocated for Big John to get the position, the power base of the family was in the Bronx. And naturally, Joe wanted to keep it there. So strategically, what does he do? He not only straightens a guy out, but he puts that guy in a captain's position for the family's most notorious crew. And a crew that the Bronx always wants to keep their eye on. He knows without a doubt, all he's done for Big John, he has his loyalty. But above all of that, he now has control over the Brooklyn faction. And he controlled it through Big John. And to prove this point, let's look at what happened. Joe DiNapoli and the acting boss, Matty Madonna, had to go to prison on a gambling case. Then the entire administration, including Stevie Crea, get indicted on a racketeering case. So what does the Brooklyn faction do? They make a move that Joe and the rest of the Bronx crew feared. They make a power move to retake the family, and they succeed. And with the double twist of fate, how did it all work out for Joe DiNapoli and Big John? Joe DiNapoli no longer has his position, and neither does Big John. And that is Cosa Nostra politics, my friends. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you could hit the like button. I appreciate everyone who does. Once again, I thank all the new subscribers to the channel. I appreciate it. The holidays are fastly approaching. Go check Ratchet out. The link will be down below in the description. Till the next time. Subscribe to the Sit Down News blog at sitdownnews.com, and I appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Thank you. Well, just another example in the mob you never knew about. Hope you enjoyed the story. If you would like to subscribe to this channel, you could do so down below. If you would like to subscribe to my other channel, Unlimited Substance Podcast, I'll add a link in the description to this video.